Welcome to Hard Truths with Hardy. We've got a great topic today. We're going to talk about the shiz no one tells you about when you list your house. But before we get into that, what's been going on with me? Last time we were here, I told you I was going to Bingo Loco, and I was super excited about it. I have to be honest, I got a little freaked out when I heard about some of the prizes they were giving away at Bingo Loco. But I quickly tried to sell my tickets. They didn't sell within a couple hours, so I decided I paid for them and I'm going anyway, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't win anything, but that's okay. I still had a great time. So let's get into it. The stuff nobody tells you about when you list your home. I thought it was funny when I started scrolling through social media the other day and I saw this list of all these things that nobody thinks about when you get ready to sell. And when I started looking through the list, I saw some of the same redundant things that I get asked all the time. And one good example is, okay, I put my house up for sale and it sells and I'm buying a new construction house and that new construction house won't be built for another 3 or 4 months. Where do I go? Well, I don't know. Where do you go? You're probably going to have to move in with friends, get a short-term rental. You got to go somewhere. And most of the time, a buyer is not going to wait another 3 or 4 months to close. So you got to find a place to go, right? Actually, 2 or 3 sets of clients right now that are doing that. They're living in an apartment short-term in Hardin Valley. We're very fortunate that Hardin Valley has a lot of apartment complexes that cater to the folks at Y12 who come here and work short-term, or maybe they come here and they stay in those apartment complexes for 3 months or 6 months before they decide to move in the area. So you can get a short-term rental. You could even potentially get an Airbnb or a VRBO house that would rent to you just for a short while, furnished or unfurnished. So there's lots of possibilities. But let's talk about what else, the things you don't realize. When you sell your house, you don't move out the day it sells. You've got to be out prior to closing. So if your house closes at 8 a.m. on Friday, you can't really wait to move out at 7 a.m. on Friday. You're going to have to move out the day before or maybe even a few days before. In Tennessee, when you close on a home, the buyer takes possession at closing, regardless of what time that is. So that means you have up until the closing time to get everything out. But when you go to closing, you need to be completely out of the house. And then there's also the shock of what buyers ask for in the contract. People can ask for anything. Technically, buyers aren't supposed to ask for personal property in an offer, and it's not supposed to be included in an offer, but people ask for things like that all the time. They see your lawnmower in the garage, or they really like the TV in the living room, and it's a 75-inch, and maybe they've only got a 30-inch, and so they want a bigger TV. They can ask you for anything they want to ask for. You don't have to say yes, but maybe you will in order to work that out. In the height of the pandemic, I saw a lot of crazy things like, we'll buy you tacos every week for a year, or we'll throw in your moving expenses. We'll cover for you to get moved out. People really can come up with a lot of creative stuff when buying a house. Then there's the money side, the things that people forget. Closing expenses. Closing expenses are huge. They're not cheap. On most purchases for a buyer, they run between 3 and 6% of the purchase price, and in most cases, they're probably more like 4.5%. But it could be anywhere from 3 to 6, depending on the type of loan you get, your income level, your credit score, your payment history. All those things are a factor in how much your closing expenses are, and a lot of people don't take that into consideration. It's not just a down payment you have to prepare for. You've got to prepare for closing costs. The commission. They forget that they're paying commission for an agent, whether you're on the buyer or seller side. In a lot of cases, the seller will pay for it for the buyer's agent, but that is not guaranteed. It may be put on the buyer to pay for their agent. A lot of times buyers freak out when it gets to the home inspection. I always think it's really important to preface what's coming in the home inspection and give my buyers an idea of what they can expect. Because they get a report that's 40 pages long. They think it's going to be pass or fail. It's not. There's no pass or fail on a home inspection. It's probably going to be at least 40 pages. It might be up to 70 or 80 pages long. That's completely normal. Even on a new construction home, there's going to be items on the home inspection report that the home inspector finds. And additionally, they will make suggestions to you that are over and above the building code. A good example of that is Putting gutter extensions on your home, that's not a part of the building code, but is it a great way to manage water and divert it away from the house? It is. But a builder and a home seller is not likely going to do that for you. If you're wanting to go over and above, typically you're going to have to do that yourself. Then there's the weird stuff. Buyers will go through your cabinets. I've had it happen. I'll give you a great example. I had some sellers, wonderful people. They had just started fostering children. And so when they started fostering, one of the classes told them all the things they should get in order to be prepared for foster children that may come out of situations that weren't great. And one of those was lice shampoo, bed bug spray, things like that. Well, they didn't have those in their home. They didn't have bed bugs. They didn't have lice, but they had to be prepared in case a kid came in with those. Well, we were trying to sell their house. The buyer came in, saw those items in the closet, and freaked out. And the agent called me and said, "Oh my gosh, my client is stressing out because they saw bed bug spray and lice shampoo." And I had to explain, like, they foster kids, this is not a situation that's currently going on for them, but they have to be prepared. My niece was buying a home. She'll probably kill me for telling this. When she was buying a home in Nashville, she found a blow-up doll in the closet of a country music singer. Yes. So keep in mind, you just never know what you're going to find in somebody's house, and people are going to look in your closet. So if you don't want them to see it, you probably need to put it away or take it out of the house. Notes, sometimes buyers or sellers will leave you a note. Most of the time, it's a good thing. Like, they'll leave a note that says, here's how to operate the garage door remote. If you have one of those remote control pads, here's some things you need to know about the home. That's good stuff. Occasionally, you get the crazy stuff, but most of the time, it's all good. The smell test, in my opinion, this is probably the biggest one. When you walk into somebody's home, the smell hits you first thing. And unfortunately, when you live in a home and you come there every day, you become nose blind and you don't notice the smell, especially if you have pets. What you don't want is 45 air fresheners that cover up the smell of cat urine. Nobody's liking that. So think about the smell test. And a good rule of thumb is bring in somebody that doesn't live in your home, whether it's your agent or a friend that you know will be truthful with you about what your home smells like. Don't forget nosy neighbors, especially if you have an open house. Neighbors are going to come out. They want to know what's going on at your house. They want to see how you have it decorated. They want to know what price you're asking for the home. They're going to show up. You need to just plan on it. Every seller, some things that they need to know before they list their home. It's not going to sell overnight. The market dictates the price. If I could preach this one and put it on my forehead, the buyer doesn't care and the market doesn't care what you need to get out of the home. That's for your information only. But I can't sell a home for more than it's worth because that's what you need to get out of it. That is not a good way to plan, and it's not a realistic way to plan. You got to think about what is the home actually worth and what is a ready, willing, and able buyer going to pay for it. And then don't forget, I'm always surprised when a seller asks me this question. I'll get an offer on a home in the first week and they'll say, well, maybe we should leave it on there longer because we'll get a better offer. No, that's not how that works. That first week is when you're going to get the peak amount of showings. The second week's pretty good too. After that, it's going to dwindle and die off. The longer it's on the market, the more people think something's wrong with it, and that's why they think people haven't made offers and jumped on that house. So if you have any other crazy stories besides the ones I've shared today, or any thoughts that you think people don't think about before they list or before they buy, share those with us. We'd love to hear your comments. I'm always up for a good crazy story. Of course, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Hard Truths with Hardy. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and you can always link to us from our social media accounts. Oh, and I haven't mentioned, we have joined Substack. Don't forget that. You can find us on Substack. If you haven't looked for us there already, we're uploading all of our old episodes as well. So you'll be able to find us. And, of course, YouTube. See you next week.